Got a good one here for you. In this video, we are talking about the studs and sucks of this past week and also 5 players you should never, ever draft again. It's game over, end of the line for these players. You have no business drafting them, and they have no business being on your fantasy football team. Exciting episode here as we talk about fantasy football, as most of you guys are heading into the playoffs or already in the playoffs. Crucial here, but this is very important as we go into fantasy football. We move out of fantasy football 2024, move into 2025. This is going to be some good awareness. It's a good awareness video for you guys to keep you guys on your toes for next year, okay? So if you're new to the channel, smash it, tap it, slap it. Guys, I'm telling you, this is the only channel giving you the truth. The only channel that told you, stay away from Christian McCaffrey. Don't draft him. And we saw what happened yesterday. It was a non-contact injury. It looked like a non-contact injury, but apparently what it was is he fell down on his knee, and it looks like he's out for the season. PCL, knee injury. Very, very unfortunate for Christian McCaffrey. What a shame. I did a video laughing about it on my Instagram because the guy is injury prone. And to say I was right is great. I should be commended for that, and you guys should be commended for listening to my advice because everybody and their mother told you to draft CMC. And that's not how we do things on this channel. We are thinking light years ahead. We skate to where the puck is going to be, not to where the puck currently is, okay? So let's go into these names here on 5 players they should never ever draft again. But as we're going through this, we're going to blend them into the studs and sucks. So let's go to the quarterback position, for example, first, okay? The guys did well, and then I'm going to give you, again, we're going to blend in the 5 names that you should never ever draft again, all right? Quarterbacks this past week, heading into NFL Week 14. Hopefully these guys continue to do well for you. Josh Allen, amazing in the snow, crushed it. I think he's one of, if not the only quarterback that was able to rush, receive, and catch a ball for a touchdown. Some crazy stat like that. If you saw it, he caught the ball, ran it in. He did it all in the snow. Amazing. Josh Allen, I had him started my fantasy teams yesterday. Amazing stuff. Wilson had a good game. We had Lamar Jackson, Tua, some honorable mentions for guys that had amazing weeks. Jaden Daniels as well, okay? Those are the guys that had an amazing week. The guys that crapped the bed, the sucks of the week, let's go over it here, okay? Justin Herbert, he had a relatively easy matchup, only 8 fantasy points. Kirk Cousins had 4 interceptions. I would say that he's a suck of the week. I mean, 2.1 fantasy points. Now, not as many people started him as, for example, as a CJ Stroud, who had a bad game as well. But man, Kirk Cousins, he should be ashamed of himself. And he's just destroying the value of everybody around him. Now, Bijan had a good week, which we'll get to in a second. But man, oh man, Kirk Cousins is the first player you never, ever want to draft again. At this point, man, it's the end of the line. He'll just never, ever be good. Like, he's just at the end of his career. He's at the tail end. There's just so many better, younger, more dynamic quarterbacks you can have on your fantasy teams moving forward. As we get to fantasy football 2025, Kirk Cousins is that one you just never, ever want on your team again, okay? Running backs here. The guys that did well, Bucky Irvin, amazing, 27.5 points. Bijan, 25.5 points, amazing stuff. Najee Harris having him a good week. Now, people called me crazy. How could you take Bijan, Joe, over Christian McCaffrey? How could you absolutely do that? I'm like, well, he's the first overall, clear cut, minimal committee. We see Algier fading away now, but I told you there was a regression happening for CMC. Okay, so Bijan was the guy, loved him, okay? Mixon had a good week, and Josh Jacobs as well, a good week. Now, the sucks of the week. This is absolutely crazy here, but Kenneth Walker, 6.6 points. Breece Hall, 6.0 points. And the suck of the week has to go to Christian McCaffrey. And yes, injuries count. Christian McCaffrey's been absolute bust. Now, a lot of people ripped into me saying, well, when he comes back, he's going to tear it up, Joe. Really? How's that working out for you? Christian McCaffrey's the biggest bust, and he's the number 2 player that you should never, ever draft again. Christian McCaffrey is a bust, okay? We got wide receivers and tight ends. Before I do get into this, guys, make sure you guys do head on over to the partner of the show, mybookie.ag. Use code FFC. They'll double your first deposit. They got a ton of incentives there. Get in on the action. This is the place that I use. This place that I trust for my bets. Straight up, parlay, whatever you want to do, everything got you covered. Now, I know a lot of people are coming out of fantasy now. They want to move into something to keep them excited into the game. Mybookie.ag. Go create an account, use code FFC, put down your first deposit, and they'll double it for you guys, okay? As long as you use that code FFC, go create an account right now. And also, if you want my picks, down below, Counselor's Edge, where I deliver my picks. I research, and people are winning, man. We are crushing it in the Counselor's Edge, straight up and against the spread. So, guys, get my picks at the Counselor's Edge. I've linked it below as well. Or head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. All right, so wide receivers that did well. So far, 2 players we're never going to draft in: Kirk Cousins, Christian McCaffrey. They're not young anymore. Injuries, just lack of performance. It's happening. Wide receiver studs, though. Let's talk about Mike Evans having a good week. And also, I just really want to talk about this here. Marvin Harrison Jr. had himself a decent week. Good on him, but a little too little too late. And one thing that was really annoying me, guys, I got to talk about this with wide receiver, was Parker Washington, because I had Calvin Ridley started, and Parker Washington was getting all the work. I was like, are you kidding me right now? So that really pissed me off, but it is what it is. But I do want to highlight the sucks of the week, because there's some big names here. Calvin Ridley, one of them, like I just said, 6 points. CeeDee Lamb, 6 points, 5.9. Cooper Kupp, again, that's another guy. He's a bonus here one for you. Never, ever draft Cooper Kupp again. I was off him after his pinnacle year a couple years ago, and sure enough, that was a good decision. Amari Cooper, Tank Dell, and Debo all having bad weeks, all under 5 points. Amari 4.2 points, Dell 3.3, Debo 4.0. So we've talked about, again, never drafting Cousins, never drafting CMC. That's 2. The next one, I told you he's not going to do well on the Bills, Amari Cooper, 4.2 points. The guy was playing for the Oakland Raiders back in 2015. He's old. He's washed. He has no business being on your fantasy team. And Debo Samuel, this guy was coming off in the 3rd round. Told you to avoid him and Ayuk this year. And sure enough, he's been an absolute bust. Tank Dell, I've got no stock in him, but 3.3 fantasy points with Nico coming back. I kind of understand that. But that's 2 more for you. You never, ever want to draft again is Amari Cooper and Debo Samuel. Crap in the bed, okay? Now, tight ends that did well. Brock Bowers, amazing. And now his value is going to be crazy for 2025. Got to see where his ADP is, but man, oh man, is he doing well. And he doesn't even have a stud quarterback. Amazing, 30 fantasy points. Trey McBride, 21.6 fantasy points. And Geno Smith, 21.3 fantasy points. Amazing. Those are the studs. And the guys that sucked, and the last one I'm going to mention here, out of these tight ends that sucked, you never, ever want to draft again. But Cade Otton, who's been relatively decent this year, 6 points, 5.7 points for Hawkinson. I mean, these guys suck this week. This is like playoff time here, and they're crap in the bed. And the guy you never, ever, ever want to draft again, and the 5th player on this list here for today's show is Kyle Pitts. This guy has no business being on your team. He was drafted as a 1st-round pick years ago and has amounted to absolutely nothing. Now, you can say it's bad quarterback play. Listen, I'm done with excuses. If you don't tear it up the 1st year, the 2nd year, the 3rd year, you should be tearing it up the 1st year you're in the NFL. You should be doing something significant, or I'll give you 2 years max because I see some upside. But Kyle Pitts should never, ever be drafted on anybody's fantasy team, okay? And I'm going to start rolling out the 2025 content. So make sure you guys are subscribed, smash the tap it, slap it, hit the thumbs up, and drop any starts and sits questions for NFL Week 14. Right here, I'll try to get to some of them, or any type of waiver wire questions as well, okay? Subscribe, smash the tap it, and leave a comment below. Who was the suck of the week for you on your fantasy football team? All right, guys, I'll keep the content rolling. We go year round, and get over to mybookie.ag to keep the action going. Use code FFC, keep the action going. If fantasy football is fading out, get into the bets. We'll talk soon, guys. I appreciate it. I'm out.